Tonight, get ready to buckle up again, Canada. A new Donald Trump announcement on auto tariffs.
It's a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States.
How it's being received on the federal campaign trail. After criticism for some comments to U.S. media, Alberta's Premier fires back and makes it political.
Now, all of a sudden, it's apparently treason to talk to American media personalities that we disagree with.
But did she address the criticism of what she said? Campaign promises from the Liberals and Conservatives to cut your income tax.
But we should also talk about the cost of these two plans.
Andrew Chang gets out the calculator for the breakdown.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrienne Arsenault.
Thank you for joining us. It is only day 4, but Canada's federal election campaign just got a big jolt. Tonight, Donald Trump is officially escalating his trade war, ordering a tariff as high as 25% on all cars made outside of the U.S. Trump's auto levy is set to take effect on April the 3rd, alongside his promised package of reciprocal tariffs, all part of what he calls Liberation Day. But this new auto tariff will vary from car to car, and the price on Canadian exports is still far from clear. So let's bring in senior business reporter Peter Armstrong now. So Peter, can we start by laying out what we know exactly about this new threat?
Look, Adrienne, I think if we're being honest, we're going to be trying to figure that out, trying to decipher exactly what was said and what it means for at least the next week. And once again, we're sitting here asking more questions instead of giving more answers, right? So what we do know is that tariffs will apply to any finished vehicle made outside the U.S., but U.S. parts used in any autos will not be tariffed. So think of the GM plant in Oshawa, Ontario. They make the Silverado truck, which is a super popular truck, but they use parts from all over North America, including, obviously, parts manufactured throughout southwestern Ontario. So tariffs would apply to the finished vehicles with a break for any of the parts made in the U.S., but that still means anything made here or using parts from Canada would be hit by tariffs, essentially overriding the very agreement Trump negotiated when he replaced NAFTA in his first term.
They're going to move their parts divisions back to the United States because some of them were made in Canada and some of them were made in Mexico and other places. They'll be moving their parts division back to the United States.
So the obvious follow-up here, I mean, is this going to work? What are you hearing?
Yeah, look, the U.S. auto industry doesn't think this is going to work. The CEOs of the biggest automakers successfully convinced Trump to back down from his last tariff threat, specifically because they told him this was going to hurt them and U.S. businesses. And experts say not a single thing has changed since that time.
It's the same Trump nonsense that is not backed by paperwork, that is going to hurt American auto industry worse than it will hurt Canada. If this goes ahead as he's planned on April 2nd, within a week, you'll see the auto sector shut down.
Now, Adrienne, whenever Trump makes a threat like this, it's often kind of seen as a sort of negotiating tactic to get concessions. This time, the U.S. president says they're going ahead next week and they will remain in place a permanent tariff. That said, the fine print in the executive order does leave the potential to lose this tariff entirely. So watch this space.
Okay, clear as a bell. Peter Armstrong in Toronto. And swift reaction tonight from Canada's party leaders, all of whom recognize the economic threat being posed as they try to lay out their vision for a path forward. Ashlee Burke now with how those fighting to become Prime Minister say they'll fight back.
Mark Carney campaigning in Windsor, the heart of Canada's auto sector, at a moment of crisis.
We got to stand strong, not make big concessions.
Carney started the day promising support for the auto sector, a $2 billion fund for the industry, and a pledge to create a more independent auto sector in Canada.
What we need to do is build more.
But just hours later, Carney's campaign pledge is eclipsed.
Thank you very much.
By Donald Trump's latest blow in his tariff war.
It goes into effect April 2nd.
Carney came out with an impromptu response.
And this is a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of, uniform workers I stood in front of this morning at the Ambassador Bridge.
The Liberal leader, who has said he would only speak to the U.S. president when he showed Canada respect, says he's ready to talk now.
Given the action that he's taken, I'm sure that it will happen soon.
The head of the union representing Canada's auto workers was in a meeting with Carney when news of Trump's tariffs broke.
None of this is good for Canadian jobs and Canadian workers right now.
Opposition leaders calling on the government to stand strong.
Now is the time to take back control and relaunch our economy.
There are hundreds and thousands of workers right now that are wondering if their line is going to shut down and if they're going to lose their job. These workers are wondering if they lose their jobs, how are they going to pay their bills?
We know we've got some issues with our American neighbors. No longer friends, no longer friends. I know. I'm going to come back to that.
After the news hit, Carney went straight to a rally in Kitchener.
So he escalated his attacks, and that's what these tariffs are. They are attacks on Canada, but they are attacks on our workers.
Carney says he's called a meeting of his Canada-U.S. Cabinet Committee and immediately changed his travel plans. He was supposed to be in Quebec City tonight, but instead will be heading back to Ottawa to deal with this crisis and figure out how to respond. Ashlee Burke, CBC News, Kitchener, Ontario.
Ontario's premier is enthusiastically backing a Canadian response to Trump's tariffs. Doug Ford says he has asked Carney for a premier's meeting next week to take a Team Canada approach.
I had an opportunity to speak to the Prime Minister, and I'm in full support of preparing retaliatory tariffs, tariff for tariff, but we want to see what he's going to do on April the 2nd.
Ontario is Canada's auto industry hub. Ford says retaliatory tariffs are a necessary response. Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton joins us now. So, Rosie, how are Trump's tariff updates landing in the Carney campaign?
Adrienne, listen, Donald Trump was always going to loom large in this campaign, as you know, and here we are. In some ways, this is exactly what Mark Carney was planning for, a campaign built around that question of who can best stand up to Trump. And as Ashlee said there, shifting now from Liberal leader into his role as Prime Minister, it is either a huge opportunity and advantage for him in this moment or a huge risk if the situation escalates, if the response from Trump gets worse. But at his rally tonight, Carney was calling for a majority government in order to deal with the U.S. president after this election is over.
That's interesting. And where does this leave the opposition parties, rather?
You know, there was criticism tonight from all of them, certainly, either that Carney should have reached out to the president sooner, or as Pierre Poilievre suggested, that the previous Liberal government made the Canadian economy overly reliant on the United States. But they have a very difficult line to walk too. They need to contrast themselves with Carney without being seen as making the country vulnerable. So do expect that all political parties and their leaders will try to take maximum advantage of this moment to demonstrate their strength and certainly their patriotism.
All right, Rosemary Barton in Ottawa. Thanks, Rosie.
Thanks, Adrienne.
In a fiery speech to her province's legislature, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith blasted her critics and defended her approach to U.S. media in the face of Washington's tariff threats.
They want this lady and Alberta to just sit down and shut up. Well, here is my response to that. I will not be silent. Alberta will not be silent. We will not be pushed around and called traitors for merely having the courage to actually do something.
It comes after an interview she gave earlier this month to the U.S. outlet Breitbart, where she said she had advised Trump administration officials to pause tariff talk until after the federal election to help the Conservatives win.
So that's what I fear, is that the longer this dispute goes on, politicians posture, and it seems to be benefiting the Liberals right now. So I would hope that we could put things on pause. This is what I've told administration officials. Let's just put things on pause so we can get through an election. Let's have the best person at the table make the argument for how they would deal with it. And I think that's Pierre Poilievre. And I do agree with you that if we do have Pierre as our Prime Minister, then I think that there's a number of things that we could do together.
It was all about working as Team Canada for the greater good.
Now she is defending her upcoming trip to Florida to make the case against tariffs, sharing a gala stage with Ben Shapiro, a right-wing podcaster who has called for Canada's annexation. Jason Markusoff joins us now from Calgary for more on this. So, Jason, Danielle Smith is facing calls to just cancel this Florida trip, but it looks like she's forging ahead.
Yeah, and it's an unusual event. It's not like she's doing a major TV network interview or talking to a U.S. senator or Trump administration official. This is a $1,500 a plate fundraiser for a conservative group that produces education materials, and she's appearing with a very popular conservative podcaster. But through this all, Danielle Smith feels like she's being a good diplomat, a good Canadian, able to speak to some of the Trump Republicans and conservatives that some other Canadian politicians can't. So she's taking a big offense, and she's pushing back against people who say that she shouldn't go down, but she's not specifically addressing some of the comments she's made that have drawn so much controversy, like that Trump is in sync with Poilievre, or that liberals or that the Trump administration should pause these tariffs because they're helping the conservatives or helping the liberals electorally. But she's defending her right to say these things.
It's interesting because she called out the Liberal leader, Mark Carney, by name, suggesting he wants her to shut up.
Yeah, she suggested that, but we haven't heard the Liberal Party or their leader, Mark Carney, say this. In fact, some people in the Liberal Party might want her to keep saying these things. They're using her comment about Trump being in sync with Poilievre in their ads. Poilievre himself has not said a whole lot about this. Conservatives, of course, want to keep their leader distant from Trump in people's minds. I wonder if they'll want to keep Poilievre different from Smith in people's minds, as she has become an increasingly polarizing figure within Team Canada.
All right, Jason Markusoff in Calgary. Tariffs aren't the only issue trailing Mark Carney through the first week of the race. Tonight, he is again being pressed about business dealings made in his private life and facing new questions about ties to tax shelters in Bermuda. Olivia Stefanovich explains.
Liberal leader Mark Carney campaigning on his business experience. Now he has to explain it.
In the case of those Brookfield funds, what was the argument for registering the funds in Bermuda?
Being questioned about overseeing 2 offshore investment funds worth $25 billion registered in a tax haven, which isn't illegal.
Is it avoiding tax in any way?
It doesn't avoid tax because the tax is paid in, for example, the examples all I gave, the taxes are paid in Canada, yes.
Carney co-chaired the funds while he worked at Brookfield Asset Management, one of Canada's largest publicly traded companies.
The structure of these funds is designed to benefit the pension funds, the Canadian pension funds that invest in them.
Carney defends the move as his opponents seek to turn the economic CV he's campaigning on into a liability.
Mark Carney is out of touch. In his mind, taxes are for the little people, not the millionaires and billionaires like him.
He made millions of dollars as a chair of this company in stock options.
Just to be clear, I own nothing now. I came into public life at a time of crisis. I put my hand up because of the crisis.
Carney says he's divested all his assets and put them into a blind trust.
He's still a really wealthy guy. And so that in and of itself, I think some people think that creates a conflict of interest.
This economist says it's fair to question Carney's personal investments.
Do those things constitute a material, conflict of interest in terms of the kinds of decisions that I personally think he might actually make? My gut answer is no.
For his opponents, the answer is yes, and they hope voters will agree with them as they try to drag Carney down while he sees a surge in the polls. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
For Canada's seniors, the effect of Trump's tariffs is also a growing concern. Katie Nicholson looks at what some of them are saying tonight and how the main parties are trying to calm their fears.
5, 6, 7, 8. At this seniors line dancing class, it's all about counting steps. A little break from thinking about counting pennies.
We're on fixed incomes, and we hurt. And when we go to the store, when we buy things, we are hurting.
67-year-old Elizabeth Hudson and 78-year-old Linda Allen know others who still have to work to make ends meet.
I know one lady's got 2 part-time jobs to make her income come in, and whether it's a Walmart greeter or whatever, working at Wendy's.
They say fresh produce and groceries donated to seniors at the center vanish quickly.
You've worked all your life and this is how it's ending. It's very sad.
No senior should ever be forced to work. But those who choose should not be punished.
The Conservatives are promising to let working seniors earn $10,000 more a year tax-free, increasing the total amount to $34,000 a year. The Liberal platform pledges to boost old age security for seniors 75 and older by 10%. The NDP wants to raise the guaranteed income supplement.
That's going to help a lot of seniors lift them out of poverty.
Anything that's going to benefit seniors is obviously good.
But she says that alone won't determine who gets her vote.
I have 4 kids that all these tariff wars are going to affect directly. And so for me, that's a concern because they're raising families.
The stakes for this election are so high, this normally decisive voter is on the fence.
Why do you think you're so on the fence?
I've always been on the conservative side, but with the events down south and the threat to Canada really irks me.
For this group, a sense of gravity around this election.
I think it's the most important in my lifetime.
This 51st state bit, it scares us.
Financial promises important to seniors, but clearly not the only issue that will swing their vote. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, St. Thomas, Ontario.
The White House is facing new scrutiny tonight as more details emerge about that Signal group chat, which mistakenly included a journalist. His publication has now released the chat transcript showing the Trump administration's plans to bomb Yemen. Paul Hunter has the fallout.
This text message is clearly classified information.
On a day yet more text messages were made public, as Democrats on Capitol Hill noted. Now all of them came an admission from the Trump administration. It messed up.
It was a mistake that a reporter was inadvertently added to a Signal chat with high-level national security principles,
but otherwise seemed intent on moving on from an increasingly intense scandal. All over how it is that this prominent American journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic magazine, was mistakenly added to a top-level Trump National Security Team group chat on the messaging app Signal earlier this month. The chat included highly sensitive details about a then imminent U.S. military attack on Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Here are the facts.
The White House slamming Goldberg as a Trump hater while insisting,
"We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread."
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who supplied the most sensitive details in that group chat, called it all a media hoax.
There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
But multiple military analysts insist details in the chat on timings and weapons, for example, are precisely the kind of thing that should and normally would be classified.
These disclosures are absolutely bone-chilling.
Democrats remain dumbfounded and enraged, insisting such leaks put U.S. military lives in danger.
All could be highly valuable to our enemies in future missions.
Democrats want Pete Hegseth fired, but the White House is fully standing by everyone invited onto that group chat. Everyone, that is, except Jeffrey Goldberg. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Employees at the Bay are at risk of losing their severance, but court documents show some managers and executives will get big bonuses.
What do you think about these bonus payments?
That's not good.
Why workers may have little recourse in a bankruptcy case. A woman murdered by a serial killer finally identified.
And they came back identifying Ashlee Shingoose as Buffalo Woman.
Why it took investigators so long to find an answer. And an American country star surprises his Ontario fan.
You know what? I am proud of myself. You know what? I do deserve this.
We're back in 2 minutes. 5 days of wind-driven wildfires in South Korea have killed at least 24 people and forced tens of thousands to flee. More than 300 structures have been destroyed, including a centuries-old Buddhist temple burned to the ground with only its ceremonial bell left intact. Officials believe some of the fires were the result of human error. The fourth known victim of Winnipeg serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky has been identified. But as Sam Sampson shows us, for the community and investigators, finding her name is just the beginning.
Be grateful today. We know who she is.
The community was there to give her a name when she didn't have one. Mashkade Bijikigwe Iban, or Buffalo Woman. And they were there when her identity was confirmed. Ashlee Shingoose, a 30-year-old from St. Teresa Point, Anishinaabe Nation. Shingoose was one of 4 women murdered by a serial killer in the spring of 2022. The others were Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and Rebecca Contois. But until now, all that was known about Shingoose's identity was that she wore this Baby Fat brand jacket. The DNA on the cuff said to have no matches.
The Baby Fat jacket was basically a dead end.
They didn't have another lead until they re-interviewed the killer, Jeremy Skibitsky, after his conviction. He brought up new information about a pair of pants.
We were able to go through our exhibit list and find those pants. They hadn't been sent to the lab because we hadn't got an indication yet that those pants might be relevant.
Shingoose had been missing since March 2022. Her family never gave up searching for her, even after police told them she wasn't one of Skibitsky's victims.
We'd like to find her. Please, anyone, call us. Let us know where she is. Good afternoon.
Today, though unable to make it, her father said to his community,
Thank you for everything, for being there.
Police now believe Shingoose's remains are in a city-owned landfill, different from the one where Myron and Harris's remains were found weeks ago. Until that search began late last year, Winnipeg police had resisted it despite calls from the community. Now a new search isn't even a question.
While we cannot undo the past, we can learn from it.
I promise you that we are going to search the Brady landfill for your daughter.
Winnipeg's mayor also committed to searching the landfill. The process is in its early stages, set to launch this city into another complex and heartbreaking investigation. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Back to the campaign trail, where this week both Liberals and Conservatives made a tax cut promise.
Today I'm proposing a middle-class tax cut.
Canada First Conservatives will cut income taxes by 15% for the average worker.
Andrew Chang does the math to show you the difference. And some Canadians are looking to a controversial and illegal drug to help with their addiction.
A friend of mine came by the dealership one day saying, you gotta try Ibogaine.
Why they're trying it despite the risk of death.
It's not a magic bullet. It's not a cure.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. Canada's oldest retailer, the iconic Hudson's Bay Company, called on an Ontario court to approve its last-ditch plan to save 6 of its stores as the rest are shuttered and sold. The latest plan would see 3 Toronto area stores and 3 others in Quebec stay open out of a total of 96 locations facing liquidation. But it has less than 2 weeks to find a way to repay its secured lenders, or even those stores won't survive. Hudson's Bay Company filed for creditor protection earlier this month after accruing nearly $1 billion in debt. Hudson's Bay Company doesn't have to pay everyone they owe. The thousands of out-of-work employees hoping for severance, for example, are out of luck. But as Sophia Harris explains, the company will pay some top executives millions of dollars in bonuses.
Kevin Grell is one of 9,300 Hudson's Bay workers worried about losing their jobs as the retailer liquidates most of its stores. Adding to the stress, the cash-strapped company is not paying workers severance. Instead, they must file a claim with Hudson's Bay and likely get pennies on the dollar.
It's sad. It's distressing.
So Grell was almost at a loss for words when he learned from CBC News Hudson's Bay will pay 121 managers and executives up to $3 million total in retention bonuses as the company winds down and tries to restructure.
What do you think about these bonus payments?
That's not good. Honestly, Sophia, if I was to answer that, I may get in trouble.
After taking a pause, he added,
Give the workers a little something.
This employment lawyer says insolvent companies often pay retention bonuses to keep top staff as they wind down or restructure.
You need to be able to retain your top people who are going to be designing and implementing the strategy and the plan to reorganize the business.
Hudson's Bay didn't comment on the bonus payments, but it did say laid-off workers can apply for federal government financial assistance. However, that will likely cover just a portion of what they're owed.
It is absolutely egregious. We absolutely would like to see additional worker protections in the event of job loss due to a large employer like Hudson's Bay shutting down operations.
Actions are being taken to protect pensions.
In 2023, the federal government passed legislation improving protections for workers' pensions in bankruptcy cases.
People do deserve to get their severance when, companies go bankrupt.
Despite heated debate, the legislation was not extended to include severance pay protections.
It was incredibly disappointing and frustrating.
The president of the Canadian Labour Congress says, with what's happening at Hudson's Bay, she hopes workers' rights becomes an election issue. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Vancouver.
Time now to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world, including a controversial therapy some say is the answer to Canada's opioid crisis. A powerful plant-based psychedelic rooted in African healing ceremonies, sending patients on mind-altering trips to break their addiction.
I was gone into like different dimensions. It was so surreal.
A harm reduction therapy with potentially deadly side effects. But first.
Today, I'm proposing a middle-class tax cut.
Canada First Conservatives will cut income taxes by 15%.
Two leading parties to competing tax cut pledges delivered on the very first day of the federal election campaign. Andrew Chang, host of CBC's About That, breaks down the math behind the two plans to explain how much you would save and why experts are skeptical about how either party would pay for this.
When's the last time you remember both leading parties in a Canadian election coming out with day one promises that sounded so similar?
Today, I'm proposing a middle-class tax cut to help all working Canadians get ahead.
Today, I'm announcing that Canada First Conservatives will cut income taxes by 15% for the average worker.
But there's a difference between these two proposals. We're going to explain what that is, how they compare to each other, and we'll try to answer what the cost might be. Okay, so both plans are trying to cut income taxes, and both in a way that affects the widest swath of Canadians possible. The Liberals are promising a 1 percentage point cut on the lowest tax bracket, while the Conservatives are promising a 2.25 percentage point cut. Same bracket. Here's what that means in practice. Canada's tax structure looks like this. 5 federal tax brackets, and the lowest one is on income up to $57,375. That's the bracket the Liberals and Conservatives are targeting. Right now, whatever you make, your tax rate on that 57 grand is 15%. Under Carney's plan, you'd pay 14%, and under Poilievre's plan, you'd pay 12.75%. So let's do the math. Let's say your taxable income is exactly $57,375. We have to remember that you'd be entitled to a kind of tax exemption credit on the first $16,129 of that income. So if we remove that from your lowest bracket taxable income, then we're looking at, and I'll just do the math real quick here, 57,375 minus 16,129 equals, so we're left with $41,246. That effectively gets taxed federally at 15%. And remember, you probably still have to pay provincial tax too, but we're really just looking at the federal portion, okay? So 15% of $41,246. Right now, you're paying, we'll figure that out here. Okay, so that equals $61.86 that you're paying in federal income taxes. That's at 15%. Under Carney's plan, so if we shift this to 14%, and I'm just going to rekey this in, times 0.14, we get 5774.44. So that's a slightly smaller tax bill, which is a savings of about $400 a year. Under Poilievre's plan, which is 12.75%, we'll do the math one more time, 0.1275, then you're left with a smaller tax bill of $52, $58, and $87, or a savings of about $900 a year. And I'm happy to report those numbers are, respectively, both pretty much in line with what the two-party leaders are promising.
For a middle-class tax cut that will benefit a two-income family by up to $825 a year.
Pour une couple de travailleurs moyenne, ça va être presque $2,000 dans leur poche.
Now, here's the interesting thing. What if you make much more than 57 grand a year? What if you make triple that, $150,000? Well, if we look at all of the tax brackets once again, this doesn't really matter because the change is only happening on this tranche of your income. What happens above, again, doesn't matter. So as long as you've maxed out that bracket, whether you're just getting by or whether you're a billionaire, you end up saving that same $400 according to the Liberal plan or $900 according to the Conservative plan, depending on who becomes Prime Minister. And the flip side to this is that if you're among the lowest income Canadians, so let's say you only make $20,000 a year, this tax cut technically saves you less because you're saving a percentage on a smaller amount of money. You may only be saving a fraction of what the party leaders are promising, more like $38 on the Liberal plan or $86 on the Conservative plan per year.
That is not a way to actually help in this difficult time. That's not going to help out folks out there that are saying, you know what, I'm struggling to get by.
If you're not paying taxes or you're not fully earning the 50-odd thousand to fully utilize the lowest tax rate, yes, you would be getting less of a break. But that's true of anything in the Income Tax Act, because the more you earn, the higher your tax rate, not just the more you pay, but you pay tax at a higher rate.
Now, let's be clear about one thing. A person who makes 60 grand a year saving $900, that $900 probably means a lot more to them than a billionaire saving $900 because it's a bigger chunk of their overall income. But we should also talk about the cost of these two plans. The Conservative tax cut proposal saves Canadians twice as much, but would also cost twice as much. The Conservative Party estimates its plan would cost $14 billion a year once fully implemented. The Liberals haven't yet released a comparable figure. But according to this online calculator put out by the Parliamentary Budget Office, if you reduce the tax on Canada's lowest bracket to 14%, it would cost the government an estimated $5.9 billion a year.
That is against the background of a country that's currently running a deficit of $40 billion, has an overall debt of $1.3 trillion, is paying public debt charges, which is interest charges, of over $50 million. It needs to increase its military spending to 2%, which is going to add another $40 billion to that. And then it's got an aging population, which will mean more healthcare dollars for the provinces. So the math doesn't add up.
One of the parties says we will cut the expenses. Okay, is it the right time to cut the expenses when the moment is more appropriate to support enterprise companies and jobs? And the other party says we will cut expenses and we will cut taxes. There's no way on earth one can manage that.
I have no idea what the politicians propose to do about funding these tax cuts. Where will they reduce the spending? How will they reduce the spending? And if they're not reducing spending, then what do they plan to do with the deficit?
But here's the thing. That kind of difficult math may matter less during an election than a very different kind of calculation.
When you look at the polls right now, deficits and debt is not a big issue. It is far down the list. Affordability is still the biggest one, followed by the Trump tariffs. And so I think right now, I think the idea of getting tax relief is important.
One of Mark Carney's great challenges this election will be distancing himself from the Trudeau Liberal brand. Cutting income taxes, cutting the carbon tax, cutting the capital gains. These are things that move the party ever so slightly away from unpopular Liberal positions and towards the most popular Conservative positions. that's on purpose.
Carney is pitching a lot of his campaign to the center, to progressive conservatives, to centrist voters who may have felt orphaned over the past number of years by the parties really being on the other sides of the political spectrum and no one really meeting them in the middle.
For now, neither party has released a detailed, fully costed plan on any of this. Both say that'll come, eventually.
Thanks, Andrew. Next, some Canadians are looking to an illegal drug to help battle addiction.
It took me to really dark traumas, dark, evil.
Why it could be a solution despite the risks. Fierce debate rages over how to prevent tens of thousands of deaths linked to the country's opioid crisis.
The traditional way of treating addictions is not working in Canada.
Some point to a plant-based psychedelic, Ibogaine, which they say may hold the secret to breaking free.
It's not a cure, but it is a powerful addiction interrupter.
But people have died after taking Ibogaine, leading some to wonder if it could be a bold new therapy or just a deadly high. Karen Pauls explores that question.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Rocky Dillon says his life was falling apart. He was addicted to Percocets and cocaine, and he was an alcoholic.
I would start maybe around 12, 1 o'clock. I'd go grab some beer at the beer store and just continue drinking all day.
Where did you keep it?
I just kept it here in my drawer.
His family and friends were worried.
And a friend of mine came by the dealership one day saying, "You got to try this Ibogaine." I said, "What? What's Ibogaine?" He goes, "Bro," he goes, "You'll love it. Like, it's something that's going to rewire your brain."
Ibogaine is a psychedelic drug that comes from the bark of the iboga tree, native to Central Africa. It's used in traditional healing ceremonies and initiation rituals. More commonly taken in a pill or capsule, some people say it takes away symptoms of detox, withdrawal, and cravings. But it's controversial and not legally available in Canada or the U.S. Which is why last November, Dillon traveled from Winnipeg to this clinic in Cancun, Mexico. Here to get a treatment he hoped would change his life. He was put on a heart monitor and given IV fluids to keep him hydrated during what many describe as a terrifying hallucinogenic trip.
And within half an hour, like my body was there. I didn't even know my body. I was gone into like a different dimensions. All of a sudden, like my life was flashing between like in my eyes. I was crying, I was mad, I was sad, I was going through so much. It took me to really dark traumas, dark, evil. Like I felt like at points they were hitting me. I got scared.
Ibogaine has serious, well-documented health risks: seizures, paralysis, even death. So how much risk is too much when nothing else is working?
Did they warn you about the health
Yes, of course.
risks?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and when
did that ever make you think twice?
No, not at all. What's more likely to kill me? Ibogaine or cocaine? Or alcohol?
It's a question researchers have been struggling with for decades.
My real concern with testing Ibogaine is a specific safety issue.
Bill Stoops is a professor of behavioral science, psychiatry, and psychology, and a faculty member of the Center for Drug and Alcohol Research at the University of Kentucky.
A lot of people with opioid use disorder might have compromised heart health. That makes it even harder to do this work in a safe way.
And there are many cautionary tales, like that of Canadian Milos Martinovic. He went to a South African Ibogaine clinic in 2017 to kick his OxyContin and Xanax addictions. His entire treatment was captured on CCTV. 6 hours in, something went wrong. Martinovic couldn't be saved. The cause of death was never determined, but his case highlights the risks of Ibogaine treatment.
It's not a magic bullet. It's not a cure, but it is a powerful addiction interrupter. We knew this in 1993. We know it today.
Deborah Mash is a neuroscientist and pharmacologist from the University of Miami. She's been studying Ibogaine for decades and founded a company that's developed a version she says doesn't have the health risks. Mash hopes to get authorization for clinical trials in the U.S. later this year so she can prove that.
Patients were waiting. As I sit here today, the patients are waiting.
Health Canada says about 50,000 Canadians have died of opioid addiction since 2016. There's an urgent need for a solution.
Hello, Chef.
Ken Cranwell believes he has an answer. He's a Winnipeg businessman who owns 2 addictions treatment centers, including this one. He's also on the board of a Canadian for-profit life sciences company that's working on an application to get Health Canada approval for clinical trials. His goal?
You could offer the traditional detox, or you've got this other plant-based medicine from the earth that will, I think, give you a way better chance of having a recovery.
Cranwell is lobbying all levels of government, trying to sell the idea and maybe generate some research funding. Some First Nations leaders say they're interested.
Our people in the north, especially our young people, are dying because they're ingesting fentanyl, different kinds of drugs.
Garrison Satie is the Grand Chief representing 26 northern Manitoba First Nations. Many of them have declared states of emergency. He's interested in Ibogaine because it's plant-based.
Traditional way of treating addictions is not working in Canada. So I think that we need to try a different approach.
Rocky Dillon is convinced it's a lifesaver. Since his treatment last November, he says he's had no detox or withdrawal symptoms, no cravings, and he hasn't used drugs or alcohol.
Feels great. Feels so great. I love it.
He's back at work, doing his thing.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
He says he's grateful to get a second chance.
And Adrian, Rocky Dillon says he's just grateful to have a second chance at life without addictions.
Karen, this is really interesting. Watching it makes me think, surely people, though, are doing this in Canada, even though technically it's illegal here.
Of course they are. I mean, you can get Ibogaine online, although you don't always know where it's from or what's in it. And actually, in our research, we found some Canadian-based clinics that are offering Ibogaine treatments and some companies that claim that they are sourcing, processing, and distributing or selling Ibogaine. So we put that to Health Canada, which is the federal regulator, and it's actually opened a handful of compliance reviews. So Adrian, we're watching now to see if any of these businesses will face further investigation or even prosecution.
Okay, interesting. All right, Karen Pauls in Winnipeg, thank you. Coming up, a country superstar gives a gift so generous it didn't feel real.
I feel like I almost disassociated with myself. Just absolutely surreal. Like, you just can't make this stuff up.
Why she was picked, next in our moment. You're looking at the moment. Ontario outreach worker Michelle Boissonneau got the keys to a new car from Jelly Roll, a country music superstar. So 3 years ago, Michelle was homeless, using drugs, had nearly given up, but now she spends her days caring for others. Her surprising reward makes our moment.
Okay?
I'm not okay.
What's going on?
I need shoes. You struggled with homelessness?
Oh yeah, for 3 years. Homelessness, addiction, all of that.
Jelly Roll's here tonight.
Yeah, he is.
He was homeless too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's addicted and homeless.
Do you like him?
Jelly Roll? Oh yeah.
I am not okay. So he hands me an envelope and he said, can you please read it out loud?
Congratulations, you will not be home tonight because Jelly Roll wanted to personally invite you to a show, VIP ticket.
I got super emotional because I don't do the things that I do for that recognition. And Jelly Roll hands me this red box.
The windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror for a reason, because what's in front of you is so much more important than what is behind you. Put on this blindfold.
When I turned around, there was a vehicle there. He was holding out the keys for me.
Thank you.
So, you know, we had a very emotional moment. know what? I am proud of myself. You know what? I do deserve this. And it was an incredible show. For quite a bit of it, he would look back down at me and he would sing towards me and I'd be singing back at him. Like, you just can't make this stuff up. I didn't think I'd be alive today. So even like the small accomplishments, like, mean literally the world to me. And I am so grateful. That's why I just get emotional like this. It's crazy.
These are two good people right there. And one thing that Jelly Roll said to Michelle that really stuck with her is that he wants to reconnect with her and he cannot wait to see the woman she becomes 5 years from now. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.